Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM. And also online at mykcr.org.
Swimming pools are great for family fun, and Central Hudson wants you to play it safe. Never operate an electric appliance next to or in the pool. Be sure pool motors and filters are grounded. Have them installed by a professional and serviced by a licensed professional electrician. Be very careful if there are electric lines above or near a pool, especially if using long-handled cleaning tools. And if a storm is nearby, get out of the water. Your safety matters.
Hi, I'm Steve Thomas for Habitat for Humanity Restore. Habitat Restores are nonprofit home improvement stores and donation centers that sell new and gently used furniture, building materials, and appliances to the public at a fraction of the retail cost. The Ulster County Restore at 406 Route 28 in Kingston needs your donations. Call our hotline at 845-853-7499 to schedule your free pickup. And thanks.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? By shifting to a system that gives more patients access to strong primary care. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
Screening exams for breast, lung, or colorectal cancers are necessary to detect and treat disease at its earliest, most curable stage. But you may have some concerns and questions. Answer your questions and ease your fears by visiting radiologyinfo.org. In addition to information on screening and wellness, you'll find more than 200 descriptions of radiologic exams, procedures, and treatments to help you prepare. Get informed and be prepared. Visit radiologyinfo.org, produced by the Radiological Society of North America and the American College of Radiology.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio has been brought to you by the First Savings Bank in Ulster County that still remains local to this day. Ulster Savings Bank, a community bank that's invested in local business, invested in community, invested in you. Ulster Savings Bank, your one-stop resource for everything local. Locations throughout the Hudson Valley and online at ulstersavings.com. Member FDIC.
Okay, good morning. Good morning, Fran. Good morning, Don Williams.
Good morning.
Normally, wow, that's a big key, Don. What am I going to do with that thing?
It's my exercise I get all week is carrying my big key around.
Dude, this thing looks like a freaking wallet.
Well, there are three of them. There's
three. Well, you're going to have to.
You're listening.
Sorry.
Don't worry about it. All you have to do is just open the door.
Okay.
Put it in your pocket, open the door.
So I'm going to turn it over to Fran and Don while I go close Don's windows.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. Good morning.
Good morning, Fran. What a nice day to be here on a Friday. It's normally Thursday with Tony, who I absolutely think the world of, but geez, we don't get to see each other anymore.
Thursday? And are you here sometimes on Monday, or you're always Thursday?
No,
you're Thursday.
It's like once a month.
Okay. I never know what day I'm going to be.
Tony managed to persuade me to come on.
An extra
and
day.
It's great. It's good to get out of the house now that I'm retired. But so when I've always told Lawrence and Tony if they need somebody, just call me, and they do.
Tony, and here you are.
And it's great that I get to see you. we met here at a show. What I don't know if it was
like
Friday.
Maybe a month ago.
About a month ago, I think.
And
you
it must
filled
have been
in
a
for
Thursday.
Tony.
I filled in for Tony. Right. Tony had to scoot.
We had a pleasant discussion.
And I used to do Friday mornings with Rick, and so I never know what day I'm going to be on or who I'm going to be on with.
I can never quite figure out what Tony calls these shows, but I think Friday used to be Feel Good Friday.
Oh, yeah, it did. I'm trying to remember who were the hosts when it was Feel Good Friday.
Nina Postchapak.
Oh, and Cameron?
It may have been Cameron, and I think it was Rich, who used to be the commissioner of jurors. I can't remember.
Oh, Rich Matthews.
Rich Matthews.
The commissioner of, commissioner of jurors, yes.
At the time he was the commissioner of jurors.
And my neighbor, yeah. Good Good people. Yeah, exactly.
Florida now.
Oh, good
So
for them.
Feel Good Friday. What do you want to talk about today? We could talk about the coronavirus, unfortunately. We have some good guests, but we have some time to talk about
We do have some time to talk. So I was thinking driving here in the fog. Boy, it was really foggy.
It was a little bizarre this morning. We're into that August type of weather where it's cooler in the morning at night.
I know, just like that.
Summer is
All of a
winding
sudden,
down.
I know. When I was out walking the dog this morning, everybody's house windows were all fogged up. I'm like, okay. Hopefully we go back to a little bit of summer, though, because
Well, we get through September, except the weather is so bizarre here now, friend.
this is true. This
Through
is true.
September, we get those Indian summers, September, October, so that's nice.
And I'll take it. And speaking of bizarre, this coronavirus is bizarre here. So what do we know today? Because I was thinking, I didn't read the paper this morning. I'm like a blank slate.
I read the Daily Freeman. It took a total, cover to cover, for me to read it 11 minutes.
11 minutes.
So it's not like reading the New York Times, I guess, or I should say the Wall Street Journal. Try to be fair and balanced. But what I don't get following the broadcast news, especially, the Delta variant is here.
Mm-hmm.
Can people that are thoroughly vaccinated get the Delta variant? If we can, what in God's name is going on? Why have we received all these vaccinations? I'm fully vaccinated.
Mm-hmm. As am I.
As am I.
How'd that work? Good?
Yeah, you got a nice car, dude.
Probably going to take... It took 40 years to get it, but thanks, Lawrence. I understand that the numbers are spiking again. If you listen to the president, if you listen to Governor Cuomo, this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Yet then when you look at the statistics, at least 30% of the new cases are people who have been vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's look at it like this. How many people do you know in your friends, in your circle, both of you, in your circle of friends that don't have a vaccine? I have quite a few friends, and I know about 10 of my friends that don't have it. They all have different excuses on why they won't get it, but we won't jump into that.
I have two close people that will not take it for religious purposes. They're very devout.
That's one I never heard of.
Very devout Catholics, and apparently, and I haven't researched it thoroughly, but apparently, in testing the vaccines, to test them, they used the strain of DNA from fetuses from aborted unborn children. And they are, even though the Pope has been vaccinated, there are very devout Catholics who, if there's anything attributed to abortion, they wouldn't allow themselves to be vaccinated. And I'm not one to sit back and criticize for people like that. Those are decisions that they must make. But they are, these people are very good in protecting themselves and others around them. So by wearing Dr. Fauci's 17, how many masks does Dr. Fauci? 17? It's 17? Is he wearing a full body mask now? Or?
He's probably wearing like the ET hazmat suit.
I shouldn't laugh, but you talk about people that, and I hate to get into the politics, but you talk, I really would like to know some facts. I don't need Chris Cuomo, or is it Tucker Carlson?
Yes,
Tucker Frederickson, I know, played tight end for the Giants years ago. I don't need them to tell me whether you should be vaccinated or not. I need to tell them to tell me some objective facts and then let me decide what's right for me and right for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, depending upon who you listen to, you could be the devil if you're not vaccinated. Now, in my opinion, get vaccinated.
I know. Yeah, I do know some people that are not vaccinated, and they, like, just a few, and they don't always wear their masks, and like, it
Well,
makes
it's such
you
a tough call.
If I recognize a few people that may not be vaccinated not wearing a mask, then how many people who aren't vaccinated are really not wearing their masks?
I've received so many shots lately. I'm fully vaccinated. I have distemper, rabies, everything that's
Rabies?
Lyme. No, I'm just teasing. I take my dog to the vet. I feel like lining up myself. I'm stuck so often. But yeah, it really is a problem. And now, I think Governor Cuomo is mandating New York State employees to be vaccinated.
Oh.
I know New York State employees who are working in the health field must be vaccinated. Now, I don't know what the consequences are.
Right.
Does
That's
it mean
what I'm envisioning? Say there's a
fires
devout
them?
Catholic who's working for the state. I mean,
there must be some exceptions. There has to be.
Right.
And I try to watch CNN and I try to watch Fox News, and I figure somewhere in the middle is the truth.
Oh.
They're requiring it.
To our vaccines. Oh.
Just seeing the nuance to require vaccines for its workers. Yeah, private companies, I could see where private companies might be able to do that, but to do it at the state level, there are constitutional rights to make these choices. At the same point, with this being a pandemic, that could be one of the exceptions to that.
Well, with Biden doing it to federal workers, that's probably
also
where
Biden
we're
orders
coming
vaccination for federal
Federal
workers.
workers.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, what you were just saying about some people that you know that don't have a shot, and you see them without masks. The few of my friends don't wear them either, and I know they don't have shots. I'm not saying anything. I mean, it's not none of my
Right,
business.
yeah,
but
I mean,
if you don't want to
it's-
get a shot, that is your business, and that's up to you. You don't have to
Right.
get one.
And if you
But
don't wanna
shouldn't
wear
try
a mask,
right? You
that's-
got to wear one then.
Yeah.
You should.
Right.
You should. But now the state, Lawrence, is where I'm trying to go here. The state and federal government, they are mandating certain entities get vaccinated. And if you do not, if it's not a health-related occupation, if you're not vaccinated, then you have to be tested regularly to show that you do not have the COVID virus. If you are in a health-related federal function or state function, it seems they're saying you must be vaccinated, which tells me if it's a mandate and you do not, and they don't provide that other alternative of testing every day, and I heard Governor Cuomo say it, sounds like you'll get fired. And that certainly will help the recovery. But I'm being sarcastic, I'm sorry. So, hey, this is a real issue. And
It's a very unfortunate issue, and it's a shame that it's gotten so far away from the science and so far into the politics.
And the sad thing is, the people that are preaching that it's about the science are the ones that are not apparently following the science, including Dr. Fauci, bright man. I think he makes too many guest appearances, for example, throwing out first pitches at baseball games. Worry about the virus. Don't worry about your public recognition. But I've heard him say so many different things, and I know that this is changing. It's new, and the science changes also, but we look to people that speak with such authority to be right and not flip-flop. So the general public, I'm confused, and I follow this. Let me put it this way. I've discovered two things now that I've been retired from the bench and from the DA's office for a year and a half it is, Fran. I could preside over or prosecute the most complicated murders or rapes with great work, but I could do that easier than I can negotiate Medicare,
I can't imagine.
Social Security, and finally trying to determine what in God's name we're doing about this virus.
Yeah.
So how do you feel?
Oh, I've following right along with you. I feel the same way of what you're saying. It's the direction it's going, trying to figure it out, the flip-flopping. I don't know.
And
I don't know.
I do appreciate it. It's easy to sit back and armchair quarterback and point fingers
true.
and criticize, but someone out there must give us statistics and not put their political slant in those statistics. And we have to have faith in our leaders. And we've seemed to lost that faith. And one of the reasons is for this area, depending upon what week it is or which way the wind is blowing politically, we get different answers from the very top, from the president through the governor's office.
And I do find the Delta variant concerning, but I took that into consideration when we were going to get the vaccine, when we had the option finally, because my concern was, I mean, nobody wants to go through that and, like, get the vaccine or have this even exist or subject yourself to something that, 10 years down the road, we don't know that
we
never
don't
happened before. And then my concern was also it being like the regular flu, where every year there's a new variant. And
there will be.
Yeah, and so this Delta virus, I guess, feeling like the biggest first variant of it, so here come booster shots down the road and, things like that. And I think a lot of people who had bad experiences with the shot, with the vaccine, are like, I'm done. I'm not going to, and then where are we going to go from there? Because all these other variants are going to come out and nobody's going to get the booster.
Well, it does appear, number one, that the Delta variant, although it appears to be much more contagious than the original, and this is just what I'm reading. Well, again, understand, I'll read the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. I listen to Fox News, I listen to CNN, and I know somewhere in the middle,
stories, yeah.
It takes a lot of time, but I have a little time on my hands now. But somewhere in the middle is the truth and some facts. But when you read all this, it does appear, when you can wade through the political slant, that the Delta variant, although far more contagious, is far less deadly.
Okay.
And especially for those individuals who have been vaccinated.
Okay. So where are we currently standing with vaccinated people and the Delta variant?
Again, it
I've heard
depends
so
on.
many different-
I looked this morning in the Daily Freeman, and I think off the top of my head, it said the county put us at 54.5%. The state of people vaccinated.
Okay.
The state has us at 64% of the population vaccinated.
Okay.
But they never give you the detail. Are you talking about the full population, including infants? Are you talking about adults 18 years or older? Are you talking about senior people? And all of that is right. I know I battled to try to get vaccinated in the very beginning. You couldn't get vaccinated.
Right, yeah.
I'm a cancer survivor. I'm 68. You have all these other
So you
issues.
met all these criteria to be first on the list, right?
But for some reason, teachers got it. I didn't. Teachers who were not going to school. You're teaching out of your home.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand the governor's priority system. I do understand it for political reasons, but that was troubling.
All of a sudden, if there was this sudden return to school, I guess he wanted them ready. But
I'm not sure. Well,
how that was really going to happen. I don't know.
You're a better person
I'm
than
being
I. I'm
really
sure that the
optimistic.
teachers' union carries a lot more power than one retired county court judge from Ulster County who happens to be 68 with cancer. So for those reasons, that was a little discouraging. But I did get it. Didn't have a reaction, believe it or not, from. Is it the second shot they say?
That most people had the reaction.
I had the reaction from the first
one?
shot.
Which shot was it?
Pfizer. Pfizer? Yeah.
Me too.
The first one was at Ulster County Community College. I remember walking in and Joe O'Connor, a very fine local lawyer that appeared in my court a couple times, did a great job. Joe was there hosting people or being an aide. I was impressed with his volunteership.
Yeah.
But,
great guy. I grew
he
up
is.
with Joe. Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, we're both run-out people.
Joe was initially, when I made my first run for district attorney, Joe was part of the campaign committee. He's an interesting character.
Yes.
But
great guy.
Good lawyer. Real good lawyer.
Yep.
So I wish that there was a apolitical leader. I don't care what party. I would prefer that they were independent, who could stand up and intelligently, but in a fashion that all of us could understand, would tell us exactly what the science is. And start out right from the beginning, unlike Dr. Fauci and Chris Cuomo, who, by the way, is like Lazarus. He had COVID. Did you see that show he did where he was coming out of the basement? He claimed for the first time, I've been quarantined now for 2 months. Like he was rising from the dead. And yet, that wasn't his first time coming out of there. He was actually seen outside and harassed some guy on a bicycle or something. So it's just, you no longer wonder why the general population doesn't have any faith in politicians anymore. It's sad.
Yeah.
But someone, somewhere.
You can't believe everything you see on the news.
That's why I read 2 papers and watch 2 shows. And I have to admit, the entertainment value on both CNN and Fox News has great entertainment. Did I ever tell you?
Glad you watched them both.
I watch both not 24 hours a day, but I watch as much as I can. And it is sad. I know that I felt that, and you have to remember, I'm a moderate, but because of my occupation as a prosecutor and judge that handled felonies and murders, I'm right of center when it comes to criminal justice issues. But I used to watch CNN was my go-to. Before President Trump, it seemed that once Trump was running and in office, CNN became radical. Everything conservative, anything affiliated with Trump was evil. And since then, it's rather different.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I ever tell you the story? I know we have a few minutes of when I was district attorney. I think I told the story the last time I was on the show. When I was district attorney, I was placed in the unenviable position of determining whether Jason West, who was the part-time mayor of the village of New Paltz, who was illegally solemnizing same-sex couples. Now, the DA should not be making decisions of who should be getting married. That's not the DA's spot. There are other, and that's a significant issue, but the DA's principal responsibility is to protect the community from drug dealers, sexual abuse, murder, burglaries, things like that. It shouldn't be the DA, and it most certainly shouldn't be the part-time mayor and part-time puppeteer of the village of New Paltz making that decision. Yet I had to decide, should he be criminally charged? He clearly violated the law and made the decision when New Paltz police called me. I sent a letter to the mayor saying, I understand that you may be doing this for truly altruistic means, or you may be doing it to advance your own career. I don't know that. However, if you continue, you're violating your oath of office and violating the statute. You would have to be charged. I prefer not to have that happen. He went ahead and did it anyway, received a great deal of publication, and I was forced to have him charged. He was never going to spend a day in jail. He was never going to have a criminal record. I think he was just either misguided by some advisors. There is a process for all of this. And candidly, even back then, I believe personally that same-sex couples should be able to make a commitment.
Right, but it was putting you in a position to look like you were against it, merely because you were... And
it received national attention, state attention. That's where I'm going with this. And every time I did any type of press release or conference, I started it off, this is not about the question of whether same-sex couples should be married. That is for the legislature, it's for the Supreme Court of the U.S., not the district attorney. This is about an individual that took an oath and violated his oath of office. That's it. That got lost. Nobody said anything about that. I was always painted as the villain who was, or the hero, depending upon liberal and conservative. So anyway, I made a rule with my confidential secretary because my most important job was doing what I could to prosecute those people
And this is when you were DA?
DA,
Okay.
district attorney, not judge.
Okay.
And I told my confidential secretary, Lori Steiger, who was magnificent, she's getting bombarded. I said, Lori, please, this is what we're going to do. I get here early, but 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock, it's DA work, and that's it. I'm here 7:30 I'm here 7:30 in my office, and I normally don't leave till 6:30. Anyone wants to talk to me about any issues from the press, they must be here before 9, as early as 7:30, or up to 6 o'clock, or special occasion, I'll do it later. Not a problem, or weekends. But during the week, no. And I said it goes, I'm the DA of Ulster County, so it's Ulster County media gets first shot, New York State media, then the national media. She said, okay, and the poor Lori, she was getting bombarded, and the people from New York City and the national media can be really aggressive. So she came in one morning and she said, Don, I'm getting killed here. I said, I know, Lori, I'm sorry, just have to follow the guidelines. She goes, there's this one really nice man, Bruce, and he really would like to interview you for a radio show. And I said, Lori, and he said, how about lunchtime? And Lori said, I told him that you don't eat lunch, you work through lunch. Would you mind doing it? He was so nice to me. I said, sure, no problem. Set up that day. It gets to be about 12:30. Lori said, Bruce just called. They'd like to start the show. I said, all right, Lori, just let me get some stuff. So he comes through, and immediately I'm going, this guy's voice sounds remarkably familiar. Bruce? And I said, this sounds like I'm not being taped. This is giving me a feeling of a live radio show. So immediately I was being informal at first. Okay, you got to put your professional, local charm, DA, give educated, full answers. So he asked a very tough question again. I said, that's a great question, Bruce. Let me try to answer it this way. And the interviewer, who I couldn't see, he was on the telephone, said, Mr. DA Williams, I am not Bruce. My name is Bill O'Reilly. And he said, but perhaps you don't get my show in your neck of the woods. Taking
Is this the O'Reilly factor?
Bill O'Reilly from the And I'm proud of this that day because I said, no, Mr. O'Reilly, indeed I do get it. I just choose not to watch it. Now, we were talking with Tony the last time. I know these radio shows that are live have 10-second delays. I wonder if that
ever made it.
But that was one of my experiences with Fox News and Bill O'Reilly.
So Lori had to act as your communications PR specialist. Because
our office was so small at the time. We had the district attorney, the chief assistant. Remember, I was Mike Kavanaugh Sr.'s chief assistant for close to 20 years. The chief assistant had to, in essence, help the DA run the office and try with the DA the most serious cases. And then we had about 5 full-time assistants. That was it. And we handled about 300 to 350 indictments a year, filings a year. So it was a lot for a lot of hard-working young people. Anyway, those are years gone by. I think the first time we really met, and we spoke about this the last time, was your leadership committee when you were on the chambers.
Right. Yeah. And you were DA when we met, right?
I believe so.
Yes. Yeah. Right. It was that long ago. Because you were judge for how many years?
10 years.
10, yeah.
I took the bench in, when did I take the bench? 2010. January 1st, 2010. So I was DA for 9 years before that. And then assistant DA, chief assistant for 20. So it was 40 years, Fran.
40 years?
40 years.
Wow.
And I almost
Great career.
Thank you. And I miss being on the bench.
Yeah.
Do not miss being district attorney as much.
Interesting.
District attorney is far more exciting. And you do not have as many ethical restrictions. You can speak publicly. But judge is tough because you are the final say. You're the one that is putting young people in prison frequently. I did. That's hard. Being the last stop is hard. But you're also insulated from politics. A judge is virtually not allowed to do anything. I had to stop appearing on this radio show as a guest out of fear of making a comment about something that's pending anywhere in the United States that's unethical. It's really hard. But the DA was far too political. It's not supposed to be. But when you are answering to the community, and when you're running for office every 4 years, it becomes harder and harder to keep politics out of the equation.
I can imagine, yeah.
Anyway, how are you doing?
I'm good.
What's a Commissioner of Elections? Board of Elections?
I'm
Not Board of Elections, but B-O-A-R-D.
Yeah, Board of Elections, yeah. Definitely far from the commissioner. Yeah, we got John Quigley and Ashley Dittis are the
they're nice people.
Yeah,
Good people.
All right, not to interrupt you, why don't we go to break and then we'll come back with Brian?
Come back with Brian.
All right, when do you want us to do the...
Did you do the birthdays at 8 o'clock? How many... Fran, you guys, Fran's been on the air more times probably than me. And what about you? You've been on the air. You don't know birthdays are 8 o'clock?
8 o'clock, I know.
Marmo.
I know Fran knows.
Marmo is my leader. I defer to Marmo.
At 8:30.
All right, we wrapped up?
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM. And also online at mykcr.org.
Central Hudson reminds you, when you're doing yard work, safety matters. If you use a ladder, be aware of overhead electric lines, including the service wire that runs to your house. Even wooden ladders can conduct electricity with dangerous results. And be very careful if there are electric lines above or near a swimming pool, and you're working with skimmers, brooms, or other long-handled tools. Central Hudson wishes you a safe summer.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, my name is Jackie Lovezzo. I'm from Lake Katrine, and I support the Kingston Community Radio because it is an invaluable resource to the community and its residents.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Okay, we're back. I'm a little offbeat here today. Usually I got my hand raised and I'm pointing at people.
Welcome, this is Donald.
I think I'm too eager for the weekend.
Did you have a late night out or something?
No, not really. No, I fell asleep on the couch at like 10 o'clock, actually.
Oh, okay.
See, that could be an indicator, Lawrence. When
I
you're
was tired
sleeping on the
yesterday, man. I was
sofa.
up the hill. I had a long day yesterday. But anyway, we're back.
All right, we are back. Donald Williams.
Fran DePetrillo, Savoca.
And we have a guest today, which I'm glad that you were able to come in. Brian Waltman.
I'm delighted to be here. There's a fellow named Bruce, a really nice guy, gave me a call and asked me if I wanted to come on the radio.
Brian heard this story. Is that a good story?
That's a great
and
story.
absolutely true.
By the way, it's amazing that he would go by a synonym. Why wouldn't he just use his...
No, what happened was this. Bruce was the producer of the show. Lori didn't tell me that.
All right.
She said, I have a nice man, Bruce. Bruce was the producer of the show who made the arrangements.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. He didn't. Lori would have said, Bill O'Reilly's the interviewer. No, she didn't know. She just dealt with this guy, Bruce.
Would you have done the show?
Sure. As long as it fit within the guidelines, I would interview anybody. The guys from the Freeman, Matt Spurring, who was a wonderful reporter, Tom Wakeman, wonderful reporter, And there was another fellow, I can't believe I can't remember his name, great reporter. They would call me when I was a chief assistant, not just DA. I'd get a call at home, 10 or 11 o'clock at night, so somebody could explain what in God's name happened with significant cases in county court. And they would call me every day, and it wouldn't be a problem. Some of them I could go off the record with, some I could not. But no, I did that always. When it got to the thing about Jason West, the rules were between 9 to 5, no calls. That was one exception because I worked through lunch, and Lori said, would you mind taking the call?
I appreciated the story. I was listening to it on my drive up here this morning, and it kind of reminded me of something where if you're elected a public official, just to let the listeners know, I was in the county legislature for 2 years, and I'm seeking to return there for another term upcoming next year. So I'm running for election again in November. But one of the things that I took that you have to take very, very serious is your oath of office. And there was a really good example of when during the term I served in the legislature, where having to follow and respect the oath of office I took wasn't necessarily the happy occasion. That was, if many of you recall, County Executive Mike Hine, he left his position, and in the interim, Adele Ryder was appointed the acting county county executive, excuse me, and there was a debate on the floor whether we would fund to the tune of $200,000 a special election for county executive. If you recalled, we had that special. Pat Ryan was elected first in a special election, and that didn't sit well with anybody to have to spend that kind of money for a special election that really would only have an effect for maybe 6 months. But the reality is, and the reality was, is that the county charter dictated that we do so. That it said the term in there was there shall be a special election within X amount of days of the vacancy.
It shall leaves no room for discretion.
There's none. And I remember I stood up. There was a significant amount of legislators who voted not to fund that election, that special election. And I certainly sympathized with their position at the time, but my oath of office called for me I took an oath of office to uphold the county charter. And the county charter was crystal clear on what the requirement was in that circumstance. And as a legislator who took an oath of office, I felt, even though I remember getting up on the floor of the legislature saying, this is the unhappiest yes vote I'll ever make. I can't imagine another one, because I did not like spending that kind of money. I understand the property taxpayers in Ulster County, how hard and difficult it is for many seniors to pay their property taxes. And for us to take almost over $250,000 and have it on a special election that was only going to have the effect of for 6 months, to me, what's the best use of funds? It should
have been some type of executive appointment.
Well, Adele, what I called for at the time, and I urged the legislature to do, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to follow through on it because I wasn't successful in getting reelected, but certainly I felt that was a piece of the charter that needed to be amended and changed.
To amend the charter would take what type of vote? Is it like
I think 2/3 of the legislature.
That's a huge vote.
It is, but you know what? I think if you could come up with something reasonable, where if there's a vacancy in the office of the executive with less than 12 months remaining in the term, that you can appoint. You could maybe there's something to this effect. The legislature can appoint acting county executive until the next regularly scheduled general election. I think something along those lines would have been reasonable, but unfortunately, that wasn't the language in the charter, and there was no choice, as I saw it at the time, other than having to vote to fund that election. And that's again, you mentioned Mr. West before. He certainly had very strong feelings about the way the law in New York State was written at the time. Yes, his feelings were, and I happen to agree with him. But again,
there's a vehicle for it. There was a
Yeah.
legal, and that was what was ignored. Mm-hmm. There is a legal process. You can either do ask for an executive order, a writ of mandamus compelling the local officials to do the marriages, to change the law. You could actually apply to change the law. There are many different ways that would take long and wouldn't receive the notoriety and attention. And sometimes to correct wrongs or to do something right, you need immediate attention. But that wasn't, the problem was, to me, you can't put the power of changing law in the hands of a part-time puppeteer and part-time mayor. I was the DA, and I felt that was way above my pay line. That it's just not right. So, what commissioners of elections, are they appointed by the
legislature?
By the legislature, or not by the county exec?
By the legislature.
Okay.
Yeah.
I read somewhere recently, and that's the way it should be. And there has to be one from each of the two lead parties?
Yes.
The
whole team, there's two sides of the aisle in the office.
Yeah.
Equal
But you know something, whenever I was running for office, and maybe because I had no opposition up until the run for county judge, but whenever I spoke to either or anyone in that office, they were always professional, polite, respectful.
That's been my experience all along, whether it was Vic Work or Tom Turco or now John Quigley and Ashley.
They do continue that on.
Yeah, they pretty much play it down the middle.
I know, and there was some talk about making the building that you guys were across the street from the courthouse. Are you still there?
We are still there.
Because there was some talk, since there was not enough court space, that they were going to take the Office of Court Administration.
That might still be happening because our lease is up and the
Okay.
building really doesn't meet our needs. And we have techs, like full-time techs all year that are up on Golden Hill. And so to have us all in one location would be a lot more seamless and effective.
And
so
they
it
do
looks
need
like
more new court,
approved.
although nothing's going on in court now, which really.
Sometime in January,
I'll believe it when we
you'll be
see
over.
it.
I think
Yeah,
it's
we're moving
on
to the
track
Daily
to move.
Freeman
I thought I've
building.
read
Daily
that
Freeman
somewhere.
building on Hurley
It
Avenue.
makes a great. That's right. It was
It
the
does
Daily Freeman.
make a great
It
deal.
makes
Not that the Freeman's using it much anymore.
11 minutes.
I know.
I call it something else.
I have an
that
online
shouldn't be
subscription
put
to the
over
Freeman.
radio.
Giving you time.
Yeah.
All you need to know.
I have time to spend.
Oh, right.
Now, so.
I keep forgetting.
And before, I wish they had saved me some time.
No, I keep having time to spend, and I keep finding other things to occupy, such as trying to attempt to mount a campaign. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
You're still full-time at the city.
Yes, I am. Yes, but since after
what position in the city, Brian?
I'm the director of purchasing for the city of Kingston.
Oh, that's
I've been there. It'll be 26 years in December.
Why in God's name, and I know it has nothing to do with director of purchasing, why in God's name when you go down Greenkill Avenue, you know how many times I've almost...
Oh, the bicycle,
What bicyclists would be insane enough to be riding there where...
that was a design that was by the New York State Department of Transportation. It was part of the Governor Cuomo's Empire State Trail, and
there was a bicycle fatality.
There was already.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brutal. And yes, there are areas. I think on the periphery of the city where they should be putting this, not right through the heart of Broadway.
Well, Don, the portion of the Greenkill Avenue bike lane from Wilbur Avenue as you head towards Broadway, right across from the Boys and Girls Club, they made to me that's a really great use of an abandoned old railroad right of way, and it actually looks good there. But when you get from between Wilbur and Washington Avenue on Greenkill Avenue, or Fair Street, I should say, or it's very confusing.
Well, but the problem is if you're going to put something that makes good use opposite Boys and Girls Club, you're right, that's nice there. It really doesn't give too much of a hazardous condition. How the hell do you get there?
Well, that's just
so that's why I'm saying put it on the periphery of the city. Do something sharing with the town of Ulster. Work the stuff out with make a rail trail with that And I know that was a real political hot potato.
I know the county is right now completing the project. It runs parallel to Broadway, the old U&D line.
What about the line that goes right behind Herzog's Plaza? And goes
That's it. It goes from.
They are connecting to that.
It goes
at the Catskill.
The Catskill Mountain Railroad. Their lease is still in effect, and they will continue to run in the operating area that they already have.
Are they permitting a bike trail alongside of it?
No, there really isn't. In that area of it, physically, there really isn't room. There's as you go through across Hurley Mountain Road and go up the mountain, there's really in parts that there's really only space for either a railroad or a pedestrian bicycle path. But I think the decision was a really good one that they came up with. Is I've enthusiastically wanted to see the Catskill Mountain Railroad continue their operations in the footprint that they're doing, because it's clearly a very successful operation. I think it's right size. I think for the capacity that they have, we got to remember that although the Catskill Mountain Railroad is a private entity, a private for-profit concern, they are all volunteers. They only have a certain amount of capacity because these people all have daytime jobs, unlike Don, who's retired now. but it's hard. So they're giving up a significant amount of their free time to volunteer to have this amenity for Kingston. I mean, they're coming up in their prime season now. They have the fall scenic rides, and then they have, of course, the Christmas ride.
It's magnificent. I hear it from my home.
Yeah, so it's cute, and it's nice to see. I enjoy sometimes. That's the one time in Kingston where I don't mind having to wait for a train to go by. If I'm exiting from the Kingston Plaza and I see that go by. Well, I live over on Abbey Street, which is near Foxhall Avenue, and sometimes it dictates to my life how I'm gonna, when I leave my house, what am I gonna take, a left or a right onto Foxhall from Abbey Street?
That train is amazing. One time I was there waiting. I said, I'm gonna be patient. Come on, be tolerant and patient. You're on the bench trying to be patient. You can sit. You got nothing to do. So you'd be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then it stopped and started going in reverse. I said, what in God's name?
Well, that's because of the proximity to the rail yard there behind Albany, Ulster Avenue. As it goes out, there's a railroad yard there, and they sometimes switch. And one of the things too is that CSX they only operate a single track. The west shore of the Hudson line used to have two tracks, parallel tracks, but in New York State, again, the wisdom of New York State, they'll tax them for every mile of rail that they have in place. They would pay a tax to the state of New York for that. So the railroad just basically cut their taxes in half by removing half the tracks along the West Shore. So it's just again, there's New York for you. So what happens in Kingston is you'll occasionally have a northbound train and a southbound train, and because there's parallel tracks at the railroad yard by Flatbush Avenue, where you go back by where Connolly Liquor used to be, Empire State I think is now, that's where the trains can pass one another. So subsequently, Kingston gets blocked up as the two trains are passing one another.
And they probably just sort of broadcast on CNN, on Fox News when they're doing this.
Or stop at Dunkin', or they might stop. Well, the Dunkin' Donuts isn't there any longer, I guess.
Do you still live in Kingston?
Yes, I do. I live on Abbey Street.
Are you in Kingston, Fran? I'm not asking you to give your address.
Tell them what house you live in, Brian.
My house, okay.
Interesting. This is a good story.
The house I live in on 37 Abbey Street is
37 Abbey?
Abbey Street, Abbey.
I was born and raised in Kingston.
It's right off of Foxhall Avenue between Dernbacher and Schufeld.
Gotcha.
My home was the boyhood home of Sergeant Robert Dietz, the Congressional Medal of Honor winner. And when he left to go to serve in the Army, he left from the home I live in today. Yes.
How old is the home?
I believe it was built, I think, in the 19-teens sometime it was built.
Wow,
yeah.
that's an old.
It's a bungalow
must be
house.
Historic.
Well, it's going to be when I get ready to sell it. I'm going to go over to Timely Signs and get a bronze plaque and say "Boyhood Home of Congressional Medal of Honor winner."
Why would you want to sell this place now? I'm sure that the price.
You should do that now and get a foot up.
600%.
I'm not selling. I'm staying. That's my home.
the uptown area,
If you're
like the residential side, like the south side of Washington Avenue, that's already all scooped up. So now they're all going to your
I live
neighborhood.
on Mountain View Avenue. It's a 12-minute walk to uptown Kingston. I bought the house many years ago for $187,000. 91, I actually bought it. And it's taken me 40 years to pay it off, but I'm hearing that house would sell for $700,000 to $750,000. It's
Dude,
it's a
I
beautiful
grew
home,
up
but
on
it's
4
modest.
Mountain View, which is on the corner of Pearl,
Sure.
where Mike Brune's house is.
Sure.
My mother and father bought that house in 1967 for $22,000. They sold it. They moved.
Yeah, but of
we
course-
stayed there until '92. I moved to Colorado. They moved up to where they live now on Tall Oaks. They sold it for back then it was a lot. I think that was like $205. You know what Mike Brune paid for it? Because Mike Brune recently just lived there. Little Mike Brune. Well, he's not little anymore, but
Yeah,
Mike Brune
Mike and
Jr.
his- Mike
not
and
not
his
the judge. The
wonderful wife.
He bought the house. I think he paid like $350 for it, but then he had twins, so he had to move to a bigger home.
Right.
He sold that house for $425. Like I think 4 or 5 months ago, right? Or no, sometime
about a
during the
year ago.
COVID thing.
Yeah, just
A house on
Yeah.
Emerson.
I mean, it's still a nice,
Emerson
beautiful
Street.
house, but
Emerson Street.
But
Caddy Quarter, is it Caddy Quarter? Across the street from Kevin Cahill. Modest house, less than I think.
on
2,000
Emerson
square
you're talking
on
about.
Emerson.
Yeah, yeah.
600,000.
I know. I was
cash.
shocked when I saw that.
Single family home.
Yeah, smaller than yours.
Pardon?
Smaller than your house.
Smaller than my house. And my house is not huge, but smaller
It's
than
still a
my
nice house.
It's a nice house.
Do the
It's-
Natolis still live on the corner?
No, they don't. They sold it several
Dave
years
was a few
ago.
years older than me.
Now,
Dave
the
Natoli.
only reason my house is nice is because my wife, who's deceased, had good taste,
Oh,
at
yeah.
least in homes.
Well.
She did make one or two other mistakes in her life,
Everybody's entitled to a mistake
we'll
or
leave that
two.
but
Yeah.
I couldn't afford. I was an assistant DA. It took me 15 years to pay off my 10-year student loan.
Wow.
She didn't have really. And she didn't have a great deal of money, but she had a great deal of class and dignity. And when she saw this place, and I said, "Hon, 180,000, 187,000." But good wives especially, can be persuasive. So 15 years to pay off the 10-year student loan, and 40 years to pay off the refinancing the mortgage. So.
And was she into interior
She
design
did.
then?
She did. Well,
After? Or that forced her into it?
She could not decide, and she was brilliant, beautiful, classy. You did, I think, know her from, but she ultimately got into interior decorating. But her specific area of expertise was window treatments. I would say she did drapes and curtains, but I
Window
wasn't
treatments.
nearly as window treatment. She was excellent. Those window treatments were expensive.
The balances and everything, I'm sure.
Everything. She designed it all. She was remarkable. And the thing that, for her, and then we'll get off that, I miss her dearly, but the thing with her was she would work with the person's taste. Taste is personal. There's no right taste or wrong
Right,
taste. She would develop the idea of what that person's taste was and then worked with them. And that's something that's remarkable.
It's lovely. Nice.
Yeah. So listen, now I'm trying to decide, do I sell this house? And then if I do, where in God's
That's
name?
the
Where do you
that's
go?
the biggest question.
That is
I mean,
the
I was
question.
born and raised in this community. I'm not terribly pleased with how it's developing and what it's turning into. I'd still like it to keep some of its character and not just turn into Brooklyn North. I like a little of both. But to just leave a community that I was born and raised and continue to live on, that's a tough pill to swallow. So.
Yeah.
No question.
And so you were talking about the terms and age and things of being on the bench, right?
Yes, yeah.
But could you run for other offices?
I will not do this. I think the world of Dave Clegg, and Dave's a good man, person of faith, person of family, cares about the community. We have philosophical differences in how that office should be run and how hard You should be on certain people. I know he's not getting a great deal of help from the new county court judge, and in essence, they should be separate entities, but at least they should have the same philosophies. But I could run for district attorney.
How about county legislature?
County judge? No, thank you.
Because let me tell you, it's so much fun when you run for county legislature.
There are so
many
many individuals that have far more expertise in that area. No one has the expertise that I have in criminal law. So district attorney would be something. I will not do that. I would not do it to Dave. I would not do it to young Mike Calvin if he had won. I will not do that. These are people I worked with and respect. I will not do that. But you can be DA until you're dead. There's no judges have time limits. County court was the age of 70.
So you could.
May I ask you?
You won't, but you could potentially.
The only ways that I would do that is if Dave resigned and then I was approached by both parties.
It's interesting.
Because I am not a politician. I say things, especially now, whether I'm not restrained with the canons of ethics.
Yes, right.
How's that feel to be released from that?
It feels really good, but I still really good. Unbelievably good.
Unshackled.
There was a but here.
Yeah.
But
he chooses to respect it anyway.
I still feel that even if you disagree with public officials, they should be shown respect. Disagree, ask them tough questions, announce what the disagreements are about. They should be able to handle it. You can't be thin. You can. There are many thin-skinned politicians, but they shouldn't be. So I still try to maintain some professionalism, but I do not have the canons of ethics that I did as DA and especially judge, so I can say what I feel.
Don, if I could ask you one question. Obviously, there's age limits with judges at many levels, except for the Supreme Court of the United States.
There should be an age limit. No,
I think the average age is 67 years old right now. The average age of the Supreme Court
probably is. I know there is at least one, I believe, in his
David
80s.
Souter's going to turn 82, I believe, next month. But
look, how about the President of the United States?
There's a minimum.
I take political positions. I most certainly was not a Trump supporter because of Trump as a person. He was not a person that was deserving of anything but criticism, in my opinion. He just was not a good person, narcissistic, but I'm really concerned about our current president. If he's not reading from a prompter or reading from a card, it's embarrassing.
He takes naps during the day. You can't have our leader taking naps during the day.
Take a nap. I'd rather have him take a nap than fumble his way through something. But
you'd be amazed how many presidents always did take naps. John Kennedy every day did.
But he was sick, though, wasn't he?
He was sleeping off his nights with Marilyn Monroe, for God's sake. See, I can say things that may not be. Anyway. Well, I mean, it's public information. The guy had to take a nap. Anyway, there should be cognitive tests once you reach a certain age. I don't think there should be any age cutoff, but at a certain age, you should be required to take some type of testing, both intellectually and psychologically, when you are in a position of such power, including the Supreme Court of the U.S.
It's just very interesting that of all levels of the judiciary, there seems to be age limits, except
throughout,
for the Supreme Court of the United States.
In New York State and in the United States courts.
Right. I just find that always interesting that there's such a...
You cannot be as quick at the age of 80. However, I don't want to judge anyone by a number or a label, the color of their skin, their background. You have to know about the person. Judge them based on who they are. But there must be some testing once you get to be a certain age.
Well, this went fast, this half hour. But I just want to thank you for having me here today.
Thanks for coming in.
Oh, it was
actually, the two of them are coming back on the air on August 30th. You're going to be a guest then too. So prepare.
Okay,
you're getting a month heads up.
I thought it was going to be in Saratoga, but I guess
it's a Monday. It's a Monday.
I'll even let you speak. I didn't give you any chance today. Sorry.
No, I'm good. I'm here.
Fran and I did a show once together.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Fran, when I
used to co-host
with Heidi Haynes and Fran.
Fran's been on the air
that
with
day
almost every host in
and loaded our calendar with guests that day, as I recall.
did.
Oh, by the way, you know what? On the way up here this morning, why I did it, I have no idea. But as I was on North Front Street, I made the left-hand turn on the Crown. To park to come to the studio. And I've been in here, coming here for.
You know, me and Brian actually did the last show on John Street together.
That's right.
The last show on John Street, and then we did the first one, right, Brian?
Yep.
Here on that was a Monday.
Yeah.
And we moved out of John Street with all this big equipment, and all. This stuff was all new, but the stuff that you're sitting in there. We got off the air. Remember, I was like, all right, that's it. We're done. I was like pulling out the mics just as Brian said goodbye.
Yeah.
Packed everything up, brought it over here, and then we got on the air by like 4 o'clock, right?
Something like that.
It took about 8 hours to get everything up and running, and then me and Brian started that Monday, and we just went on lockdown.
Yeah, that was right at the time,
it just started. So, all right, well, Brian, thank you for coming.
Well, thank you very much. It was really a pleasure to see you both.
We'll be back with Sue Marcy from United Way.
Brian to read one of the birthday notices.
No,
if you want to read them now, go ahead. Read them now.
No, I know Fran's want to follow your lead.
All right, we'll be back in a minute.
Listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston, on your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer: the drug facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the drug facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/drug facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting against childhood cancer every day. At the heart of this battle are our donors.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here. And it doesn't matter your religion or what part of the world you're from, all that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Find out how you can help at stjude.org.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Hi, this is Jim Quigley, supervisor of the town of Ulster, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
Rondout Savings Bank has a long history of serving local communities and maintaining a strong tradition of customer service excellence while providing each customer with the personal attention they deserve. Rondout Savings' approach to community banking puts you and the growth of your business in the front of everything they do. They're a different kind of bank and would like to tell you why, so please reach out to one of their expert business bankers for an appointment and let them show you what they can do for you. Rondout Savings Bank, always working for you and the community with branches in Kingston, West Hurley, and Hyde Park. Also online at rondoutbank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Okay, we're back.
We are back.
It's 8 o'clock. It's time for birthdays, and then we'll get out. Sue Marcy will be our next guest from United Way after birthdays. So take it away, Fran.
Sue Marcy. Friday, July 30th. Here we are at the end of July already. I think it's Birgit. I don't think she said. I think it's Birgit Kastner because I actually think she's one of our election workers, if I'm not mistaken. Oh. Happy birthday! Please wish a happy birthday to Birgit Kastner. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. From your friends at the Rosendale Seniors. Also, Friday, July 30th. Please wish a happy birthday to Kathy Busey. Mm-hmm.
That sounds right, Kathy
Okay,
Busey.
From your friends at the Hurley Pearlers. The Hurley Pearlers, I always think that's so cute.
Ah, the knitting group. Must be a knitting group.
Right.
They used to donate
Oh,
rugs to people who are victims of, or not
Oh.
rugs, but blankets, people
Oh,
who are
nice.
victims of domestic violence.
Survivors.
and those are the best blankets ever. Okay, so the winner for July 30th of the Boyce Dairy Milk House famous cow pie is Kathy Busey. So courtesy of Boyce Dairy Milk House and Kingston Community Radio, you are the winner for July 30th.
And I think Tony takes the cowbell home with him.
Oh, how rude.
Oh, I see.
we're
I know, there's no cowbell. I was looking for that.
Congratulations, Kathy Busey.
Saturday, July 31st. Please wish a happy birthday to Susie Van Wagenen from your friends and family. And also, July 31st is a happy birthday to Lillian Sackerman. Love your family, your friends. Have a glorious day. July 31st, the winner of the Boyce Dairy cow pie is Lillian Sackerman. Congratulations and happy birthday to all.
Now, do they get a choice of what flavor cow pie? Do you know?
That's a good question.
I always ask those tough questions.
That's your reputation, Don.
Yeah, I have to say, if that were my only reputation, I'd be quite happy for that. I heard quite a bit about my reputation last night at the establishment, but we won't get into that.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
And I just want to wish a belated happy birthday to my husband, Dennis, who his birthday was yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Another July baby.
That's
A July baby.
July. That's 9 months before July would be what time of year?
July's what, the 7th month? That's
November.
October, November? Somewhere in there.
Okay. I know there are a pile of March babies. I'm a March baby.
Uh-oh.
And if you track it back, does it go to, I think, June?
Oh, yeah?
Longest day of the year? I don't know.
It's the longest night is what I'm thinking about.
That's in December. That's in December.
Well, then, November, December.
Oh, goodness.
So how are you, God? It's great to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you. It's fun to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
I know the last time, I think it was with Tony, was it not?
Here with Tony, yeah.
And you were telling us so many interesting things, but
Ran out of time.
we ran out of time.
I have a laundry list always of things, but
please.
I think what's most important, in fact, Lawrence and I were chatting before I walked in, and I just want to say it, I'll say it every time I come on because folks don't realize, while United Way is a national brand, each United Way is independently organized and incorporated and run by a local board of directors. So every dollar that we raise from individuals stays right here in Ulster County. It's not going off to the United Way in the sky or in Washington, D.C. or Virginia or wherever the heck they are. It stays right here in Ulster County. So when we say it stays local, we mean it. We fund local programs and services right here in Ulster County.
And if I recall, Sue, when I was working for the county, and the county really strongly encouraged, that everybody's paycheck should have some contribution, even if it was a small contribution. But when you make those contributions, at that time, you also had a right to select certain initiatives or programs that the money would go to. Is that?
You can designate your gift, but what we really ask is folks to consider not designating their gift, because we have myriad of programs and services at like 15 different agencies that we work with, and we bring them in every year and we evaluate them and we go do site visits, and so we're really making sure they're doing what they say they're doing.
Some of the smaller agencies, I take it, would not be publicized or marketed by themselves.
Right, and a lot of them don't have their own fundraising arm, because they're smaller or what have you.
Designating those smaller agencies or companies may be missed. That makes a great deal of sense.
Right, and a lot of the programs that we fund, maybe they're a smaller program in a larger agency, but they don't qualify for, county, state, or federal, grants or anything like that. So the United Way dollars really do make a difference for those. Maybe they're the smaller program, but it makes such an impact for those clients and those families that are serviced by those programs. So, in fact, I just gave you a flyer that showed you what we did last year. And last year, $2,605,000 was distributed in Ulster County to programs and services serving Ulster County people.
That's amazing.
And I think, I don't think we've been very good at blowing our own horn in the last several years. We don't brag about all the money that goes out. We just go out and do our jobs. So we're trying to take a moment and brag a little bit about what we do so folks realize that the United Way is a vibrant part of this community and integral to many, many programs and services that, friends, neighbors, and loved ones take advantage of. 39% of the funding went to affordable daycare, after-school programs, and summer camps. A lot of it was scholarships for kids who might never have the chance to go. 18% went towards literacy and education programs. 18% went to emergency housing programs. 25% went to mental health services, and isn't that a good topic for these days with the Olympics and the athletes and everybody's still surviving the after effects or the ongoing effects of the pandemic. I mean, I know it was difficult for me during the pandemic and a lot of folks, and I have
People are
resources.
still out of jobs and struggling with their mental health in part because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
How can you even, I'm not looking for percentages, but could you tell us the programs, break them down a little bit that fall within? I know there are so many.
There are so many. I know that one that jumps to mind, and especially since we're getting ready for back to school stuff, ACES is run by the Mental Health Association of Ulster County, and they work with students at SUNY Ulster, and there's a counselor there, I don't know their exact title, but they're there for folks who have a mental health diagnosis and maybe they're having trouble navigating registration, or they're frightened of going to the bookstore, or they're just not quite sure how to handle the study prep or whatever. So there's a staff person right there on campus for them to go to and who helps walk them through. It doesn't do it for them. Again, it's somebody who's just to guide and advise and give someone a little extra emotional support to help them through the challenges of college life. So that's a really important service.
And Ulster County Community College is such a great school.
Oh, they're awesome.
It is amazing. So many people I know, including family members, started at Ulster and then moved on, transferred to larger state universities, didn't lose a credit.
Right.
What a good education. Wasn't it you that told us that the Ulster County Community College is #1, I think, in the state?
I don't think it was me, but that is their ranking now. And then
that is simply amazing.
Kudos to Dr. Al and all the team over at SUNY Ulster because they do a fabulous job.
Right.
Yeah, my dad was an assistant soccer coach there back in the 70s.
You did tell us
so
that.
Yeah, so I have fond memories of going to the soccer field out there.
Was that with George Vizare?
Vizare, yeah.
Vizare, and weren't they national champions or always competing?
Yeah, they went for, I think it was a regional championship that year that my dad was there, so it was very exciting. Very exciting. You asked about the other programs, after-school programs, summer programs. We have programs at the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, the Center for Creative Education. There's Camp Starfish at the Y. Little kids who might not get a chance to go to summer camp, they get a scholarship to go.
All people from the county? Or?
All people from the county.
That's
these are all every program and service that we fund is Ulster County based, all throughout the county.
That's great. So it's not just that the program is in the county, people have to be residents of the county to be a part of the initiative?
We fund programs, so whatever their parameters are, that they get to. We don't dictate that at all.
Understood.
We just give the support to the agency's programs, and then they decide how they're going to use it best. we have programs, the Washbourne House, run by Family of Woodstock. It's the domestic violence shelter. We get funding to that.
Which is, George Washburn was a teacher in the Kingston School District. And I think he also had some administrative slot, but he left that home to that initiative, which when I was an assistant DA and DA, it was so important to have a shelter for people that were trying to get out of the cycle of domestic violence. And that George Washburn, who's passed, just a good man, and of course his wife.
Yeah,
they were both supportive.
They do an amazing job there. And then, the Camp Siwakamano at the YMCA, they receive funding for scholarships for kids. And we have a great video on our website, and there's a young man named George, and he talks about the first fish that he caught. And someone asked him how big it was. He goes, it was this big, and it got bigger every time he told the story. But he caught one fish, and I think it's like 3 turtles and 2 salamanders. And you have to watch the video. It's under What We Do on our website, ulsterunitedway.org. It just makes your heart happy to see him and how much fun he had at summer camp and all the other kids. He gets to see all the kids, doing that. And, it's for kids who might not have had the opportunity to go to summer camp, so these scholarships are really important. And then we also do funding programs for teens, and teens was a especially hard-hit group for the pandemic, especially for a lot of these agencies that serve the lower wage families or lower income folks. A lot of the parents are working multiple jobs, or they're single parents, and they don't want to leave their kids home alone, so they go to the Boys and Girls Club after school where they get homework help, and then when they're done with the homework, there's all kinds of programming for them to be involved with. There's leadership programs for the kids. The older kids mentor the younger kids. It's just fabulous. They do such a great job, and a lot of these after-school programs became on-site programs for school during the pandemic. Meaning instead of the kids coming after school, they'd come during the day because they were doing it remotely from home. They didn't have computer access at home.
Computer access. I was about to say.
Or they have multiple kids at home.
They wouldn't have them in the schools, but then they would have them teaching. No, this was being
No, they were doing remotely.
Understood.
And so several of our agencies provided that service and partnered with local grants from the Novo Foundation and the Rowley Foundation to pay for teachers' aides to come in and help the staff and work with the kids who are there at these programs. And they just pivoted beautifully, and the kids really, really thrived in that environment, whether they, because they were working from home, either they didn't have computer access or they didn't want to turn their sound on or their video on because they didn't want anybody to see what was going on or hear what was going on.
Having it within the home is not a good environment.
Right, so that's one of the reasons we shifted some of our funding to more of the teen programs.
Teachers come in? Were they were probably prohibited by their contract?
I don't know all the details. I'm sure the teachers were doing it remotely, and I know the way that they had teachers' aides on site as well as the staffing that was already there. So that was a really important program during the pandemic.
What about the emergency housing programs, which is so ripe?
Yeah, and right now there's a lot of funding out there for emergency housing, but we're still waiting to see what's going to happen when the rent eviction moratorium is lifted.
I think that's August 1st.
I believe it is, yeah.
Now they may extend it again, but
I think
it's August 1st.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Which is
you cannot even.
In a few days, yeah. And a lot of these folks, they haven't been working. It's not that they don't want to work. It's not safe for them to go back to work, or they have underlying conditions, or what have you. And folks don't want to be behind on their rent. They're working multiple jobs to try and make ends meet, so they're not behind on their rent.
I keep seeing on television that there was an initiative where people could apply. Mm-hmm. Statewide.
There is. It's a great program. It's all the applications are done online, however, so a lot of the folks, there's trouble, but there's several agencies that are helping with that. Family of Woodstock's helping with that, Catholic Charities, and I believe RUPCO, and I know there's another one, and I apologize, I can't remember it off the top of my head. But they will walk people through it. But the tricky part is it's about 12 different documents that have to be uploaded, and they also have to work. The landlord also has to submit several documents, and they can only submit it as one package. So It's a great program. They're still working through all the details, so it's
12 documents that have to be uploaded, like
in one
so
package.
many factors right there. Do they have computer access?
Right.
Do they have Wi-Fi?
Do they know how to use a computer?
Do
they know how to upload documents?
And I can do all those things, and I'm
And
a
right.
fairly intelligent person, but uploading documents is problematic unless you have a scanner or
Exactly.
trying to do it on your
So
cell
go,
phone.
if you need help with that program, go to Family of Woodstock, go to Catholic Charities, go to RUPCO. They will help you get everything together and upload it for you and walk you through the process.
How else can that message be given out to communities or individuals that need that assistance? I mean, I'm not sure how to get through.
Well, I think a lot of the food pantries are very aware of what the services are going on, and also folks can call our information referral line, the 211 number, United Way's 211 information referral line. It's a free call, and they can also tell you which agencies are doing those programs that can help you, what resources are out there for you. It covers a 7-county area. There's operators there 24/7. There's also a website, and I'm going to get it wrong. It's like hudson211.org or 211hudson.org.
But if
one of those.
somebody does have a computer
on our
and
website.
they are capable of Googling, which is now a verb.
I know, isn't that odd?
Well, it's like we didn't have a vacuum when I was growing up. It was a Hoover. Hoover the rug. Which
Exactly,
is a verb.
exactly.
Anyway, you could just Google rent assistance New York, and I take it.
Yeah, I
those
think
that would
options-
show up.
It would.
Yeah.
It would.
We're talking with Sue Marcy from United Way of Ulster County, for those of us that are just coming in to listen. And Sue, it's great to see you and keep up all the great work that you do. You're continuing on with Don here. Don, it's always great to see you. And I'll be seeing you in August, apparently.
August 3rd.
Oh, there you go.
I'm going to scoot off and head to work, and you guys continue on.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, we
I
will
think
do
Sue and I are not lacking in the ability
to gab.
And
No,
that's why she's back, because you couldn't get it all.
to get all the message out today.
that's guy can always come
Fran,
back.
good
Doc.
seeing you.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you, Fran.
Why she's
Take
back,
care.
you couldn't get it all in last.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
What are the highlights, and not just personally to you, but you feel about United Way? What are the highlights?
The highlights. It's local. If everybody everybody who was working in Ulster County donated $1 a week, we'd be a $5 million United Way. We could fund all kinds of programs.
What do you typically, what do you get a year from donations?
It varies. This year, we actually, it depends, whether you're talking individual donations or we've gotten some lovely operating grants recently, so we appreciate those as well.
Well, what do you need obviously you need more.
We need more.
the
We always,
better.
yeah.
More
Yeah,
the
I
better.
mean,
You
if
can do
we,
more with more.
I mean, we probably average, most recently, probably about $500,000 a year. We could certainly raise if we could bring in over
So
$1 million.
if you have to give out $2,600,000.
Yeah, we could use a lot more. We can always use more.
And if $1 a month,
$1 a week.
$1 paycheck. Oh,
$1
$1
a
a week. So
week.
$2 a paycheck. Because the county paychecks, and you're talking about just county employees or state employees also?
Anybody who was working, anyone in the workforce in Ulster County, if everybody who was in the workforce.
Private workforce also?
Private workforce,
Okay.
everybody.
And that would add up to did you say?
Over $5 million a year. So, and if you think $1 a week doesn't matter, it does, because it's added to everybody else's.
$4 a month.
Right, so do $5 a month, round it up. You can do it a monthly. You can do an ongoing gift through our website at ulsterunitedway.org. You can send us a check, you can drop off money. In the past, we've had kids who had lemonade stands who wanted to give back. They brought us their mom wrote us a check and said, here, put this to this particular program, or can you target this to kids programs? So it stays here. It makes a difference. Many of these programs don't get funding anyplace else, and they're struggling. And, as we've all learned from the pandemic, we're all, a crisis away from needing assistance, whether it's food, whether it's housing, whether it's, shelter. It's
Do you have the ability to have automatic deposits from individual personal bank accounts?
That can probably be arranged through your bank. I know a lot of banks now do automatic bill pay every month, so
okay.
that's fine. You can get it. You can do it out of your paycheck. You can do it with a credit card. You can.
Well, some of
any
us
number
don't
of
have
ways.
paychecks anymore.
I know. I'm very envious, but I'm
No,
grateful for mine, for
don't-
sure.
Trust me, do not be. It's
Everybody I know who's
retirement
retired is busier than they ever were when they were working.
But the things that you do in retirement that keep you busy are not nearly as fulfilling as things that you are doing now and like what I did. And some of us need that fulfillment rather than traveling and weeding.
Oh, I like weeding. Weeding, but that's after
I
work
like,
too,
I like
so
doing,
it's all good.
I like planting and I like digging up. I don't like weeding.
Okay,
Anyway,
that's fair. That's fair.
so what else do you want to talk about?
Just every year we talk about, we do a little incentive program for our donors because every year we need to replace donors. If donors retire, donors move out of the area, they retire out of the workforce where, all the baby boomers are retiring now. So they are a big part of our donor base. So we do a little contest every year and ask if you increase your gift $1 a week, you'll get several chances into the incentive, and it's progressive. If you give $2 more a week, and that's if you've never been a donor before and then you give $1 a week, then you get 2 entries. If you've already been a donor, we just ask that you consider increasing $1 a week, so $52 a year. So this year we're offering a trip to the Mayan Palace at the Riviera Maya in Mexico. It's a 7-day stay for 4. It's the actual stay.
7-day stay for 4 people?
For 4 people. Yeah, it's probably, I think it's a smaller, condo or something. So maybe, you can do anywhere from 2 to 4 people. So it's great. And,
Riviera Maya is beautiful.
It's beautiful. Then I have a little flyer here. We have white sand beaches. We have pools. We have the historic city of Tulum. They actually have a Cirque du Soleil performance down there.
It's by Tulum. Tulum is.
It's cool.
Haven't been there, but it's like the place to go now.
Yeah, and then there's underwater snorkeling in a cave. There's a Jack Nicklaus golf course. So there's a little bit of something for everyone. All you have to do is pay your own airfare to get there, but your actual stay is what you would win.
Fantastic.
So for a small donation, you get entries into it, and every $1 a week gives you 2 entries. $2 a week gives you 4. $3 a week gives you 6. We cap it at 10. So sorry, you can't get more than 10 entries. But we have some various contests throughout the campaign season to help you, encourage you to get some more donations. But people are like, oh, it's a gimmick. Well, yeah, but last year it raised $37,000 new dollars for us.
How is that a gimmick?
I know some folks are.
Some people are just cynical.
Real people win it. We had a former employee from Adams won it this year. We've had folks from Ulster, Ulster BOCES have won it in the past. We've had folks from the Arc Mid-Hudson.
So Adams also is one of the local establishments that encourages their employees to make.
Oh, they're fabulous. They do a great job. They actually have like a 3-week party over there promoting United Way.
What are some of the other?
Sure, a lot of the banks. Ulster Savings Bank's a big supporter. MHV is a big supporter. Rondown Savings Bank, of course. Ulster Federal Credit Union. Adams, SUNY Ulster does a campaign for us. The county, as you mentioned before, does a great campaign for us.
IBM have any presence involved?
IBM is still a very large presence. Oh, and I'd be remiss if I did not mention Central Hudson, who is our biggest campaign. Thank you, Central Hudson, for all you do for our community. They're incredibly generous in giving back to us, so we really appreciate all that you do. And United Healthcare is another big United Way supporter as well. So, and I don't mean to slight anybody who I've left out, but we appreciate every single one of you and every single one of our donors, because you all make a huge difference here in Ulster County.
So you're a natural at this.
I've been doing this a while.
I know that it ends up on YouTube, but I've heard you on the radio before.
Oh, thank you.
Met twice, but you really have a way about you of giving off a positivity.
Oh, thanks. I work on that. So
yeah, I think we all have to work on that at that point.
I'm
not quite sure that positivity when I was on the bench is what was referred to.
I'm not sure that was part of the reputation.
Tolerance was. Positivity, I'm not quite sure.
Well, you made a difference in other ways, so it's everybody. We all have a role to fill, and I think it's important that we find it. And I never wanted to be a number in a cubicle. I always wanted to be in a place that knew who I was, and I knew who people were. And I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I always knew I wanted to work with people, and I wanted to make a difference somehow. So I'm very, very blessed to do that every single day.
There really is no greater motivation, it seems, people that truly are in public service for public service, there really is no greater fulfillment, no greater motivation than having people say thank you.
Yeah.
Having
That's all it takes.
people recognize the hard work, the dedication, the passion, and when people say thank you, it just really motivates.
Yeah, it just makes your day. Your whole heart just glows.
It truly
It's just
does.
wonderful.
And there are always opportunities outside in private industry that there are other benefits. But the people that I met that have met over the 40 years, like yourself, that they're smiling. I'm sure there's stress when you can't find the funds to help a particular entity that needs it. That's got to be horribly stressful. I'm sure there's sleepless nights, but you can
all of
just.
those things.
But the fulfillment is amazing.
Yeah, it's really, really the most wonderful feeling in the world is when someone calls and asks, "Can you help me?" And you can answer, "Yes, I can. Yes, we can." That's
amazing.
the best part of the job. Absolutely the best part.
And then they will remember you and what you've done for them for the rest of their lives.
I hope so, but I
No,
just
they
hope it pays
shall.
it forward. I hope it makes a difference for them. And if we can't help, we're pretty upfront about that too, but we try to always give someone, another number to call, another referral. So if you need anything from the United Way, we're at ulsterunitedway.org. My phone number is 845-331-4199. If you want me directly, it's extension 2 for Sue. So ulsterunitedway.org.
We're really lucky to have you back, Sue. And
Pleasure to be here.
It's always, when I leave, it's like the times when I was DA and if I would visit the Bruderhof, I was invited there frequently. Every time I left
That's
there, I just
uplifting
had
as well.
It's an uplifting. And seeing you and hearing what you do is uplifting to me.
you.
Is there anything you want to leave? We probably have about 30 seconds.
Oh, golly, keep it local, ulsterunitedway.org. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all of your support. We can't do what we do without all of our donors and volunteers. We appreciate you so much, and even more so during the pandemic, you made us, you kept us coming through, and when those phone calls were getting tough, you would come through with a gift or an email or a phone call and lift us up as well. So we really appreciate all of the support, and Ulster County is a pretty amazing place to work and live. So thank you for that.
Well put. So thank you.
Yeah,
again
thanks for coming in, Sue.
You're welcome, Lawrence.
We'll be back in a few minutes, folks, with Chief Tinti.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Central Hudson reminds you that summer thunderstorms can strike with strong, gusty winds, knocking down trees and power lines. If you see a downed power line, call 911 immediately to report it. Power lines can carry an electric current strong enough to cause injury or death. Stay at least 30 feet away from a fallen line. Don't try to move it or anything that has come in contact with it. And never drive over a power line. Remember, your safety matters.
There was this one time I went snorkeling in the Caribbean when I was a kid. It really just blew my mind. We saw the most beautiful corals. I remember thinking they were waving at us as they moved with the ocean. And then there were all these amazing fish. I'll never forget it. It completely changed the way I look at the ocean.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
This is the story of Daniel, who was born 2 months early. His lungs weren't ready. His heart wasn't ready. His parents could only hope that one day he would leave the hospital healthy, and they would all live happily ever after. Daniel's is just one of the more than 500,000 stories of babies born prematurely last year. You can help the March of Dimes stop premature birth and bring more babies home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.com. Working together for stronger, healthier babies.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Okay, we're back with the last half hour of Kingston Community Radio. Don Williams now co-hosting alone because Fran had to go to work.
Well, you can call me host. I'll take the promotion.
Okay, you're the lead host for the next 28 minutes.
Geez, that sounds so much more important than many of the other things I've been called in the past 40 years. But thank you, and we're really lucky. I'm happy. I have not seen you in so many years.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm happy to have Chief Jid Tinti visit us today, so I can cross-examine him. I will not do that. I assure you.
That was one thing I can tell you, for anyone listening and viewing, that I've always feared. Always. We have been on the side of truth and justice from the beginning since I met you, sir, and I'm telling you, I'm like this in awe sometimes, listening to you on that bench. I'm like, oh, man. So let me tell you, for everyone listening, my first experience with you, really, we'll go right into it, right?
I would like to, Jed. I would like you to explain, because honestly, I think the world of you and have so much respect and admiration. So people that listen, they do have to understand that I am biased in your favor. But tell the history.
So tragedy occurs in Kingston. Raquel Knox case happens. Larry Whitehurst back then, 1997. And
95 it happened.
95 Raquel Knox. It was resolved. So I get assigned as the case manager. Now, I'm not an investigator. I'm not a detective.
You're a police officer.
I'm a police officer at the time, and I am assigned, and I like to believe at the time, Chief Riggins was there, James K. Riggins, and he assigned me there because of my skill set. I was able to do computers when computers were just in its infancy. And
absolutely.
So.
There was in essence, what was occurring, Mike Kavanagh was the DA at the time, and DAs had to make elections. The death penalty was on the books. In fact, young Raquel was brutally murdered, I think within 10 days after the death penalty passed in legislation. So 10 days later, Ulster County had the first death penalty eligible offense. And Mike Kavanagh's DA, we were a small office, probably 1/3 of the size of the office currently. Oh, definitely. And Mike Kavanagh elected to seek the death penalty. I was assigned as Mike's chief assistant to handle it. And we were at the infancy of any form of data collection. There was a team of lawyers from the Capital Defender Office that when the legislation was passed in New York State, it was passed with a proviso that a special office, rightfully so, would be established with seasoned murder defense attorneys and some that had experience in other states, Georgia for one, that had a death penalty. So there was a team of lawyers. A team.
A team.
And
they were hungry, right? That was their job. Yep.
Their job. In fact, at the preliminary hearing for Larry Whitehurst, I was not experienced in handling the state and national press. Neither were the two initial capital defenders, Mark Harris, and I've forgotten the second one. Mark Harris did the preliminary hearing. Preliminary hearings are relatively easy. We got past the preliminary hearing. He was interviewed by the press, and he said publicly that the principal goal and objective was to make my life miserable so that my boss and I would be telling other medium to small offices never again to seek the death penalty. They were going to bury us with paperwork. And Mark Harris said that to the press, and I, rather amateurishly and unprofessionally responded, "Make me miserable? I'm a prosecutor. I was born miserable." Anyway, but we needed someone to help because it was me.
Yeah.
And we needed someone to help to do all the real work. And you, young police officer, very bright, probably the only one in criminal justice in this area that knew anything about computers, you were assigned
early on
as the person.
Yeah.
And you were compelled to work with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
No, that was, so again, not being an investigator, not really having any type of criminal background as far as investigations go, just a patrol officer at the time, and Jim Riggins and Paul Watzka, deputy chief at the time.
Great deputy chief.
Yeah, absolutely. He was, and talk about a hands-on guy, and I got to give him a lot of credit. He is still, even after being the chief of Ulster and now working part-time as an investigator for the, still in it, like constantly in contact with everyone, on the scene, shows up at night, just amazing. And,
one of the best, if not the best investigators I ever worked with.
Very thorough, absolutely very thorough. Learned a lot from him. And so once I got assigned, I still remember sitting in what was the conference room downstairs.
The district attorney's conference room. There was not enough room for the stuff in my office.
Just boxes and boxes of paperwork, and having you explain to me how the Capital Defender's Office is going to work, and exactly what you had just said, that their goal is to make it so miserable, so difficult. And I'm going through paperwork, and you would find things. You would find things in these reports and say, do they know the difference? So every report, because one thing that I have to say about you is you were extremely detailed oriented, not a period.
Not by choice.
Just however you were prepared, right? So I'm not blowing smoke. The truth is, I learned a lot just from working with you and actually for you that time, because just little things in how the sentences were arranged could change the tone. And I mean this, like things that I would never have known, just report writing basics. And sometimes our detectives would either, in haste, write things down or not put them properly, or just errors that would indicate there, and there. Little things like that, the apostrophe, is it there, is it possessive, is it? Little things like that meant nothing to them as they wrote it, but signified the fact that they were not detailed oriented, did not pay attention to those things. And you said, this is something they can take apart on the stand.
A fine defense attorney. There are so many good defense attorneys that do criminal law felony level, which is what we deal with across the board, and especially a death penalty case. There's so many good ones. But you're just referring to the police reports and information, that boxes of information. The best lawyers are the ones that have staff that can go through all of that, because the lawyers do not go through it themselves. It's too much. And the Capital Defender Office had a huge staff. In fact, they had a paralegal that was getting paid more an hour than I did. And she told me one time, I got to meet her, and with my sense of humor, unfortunately, she told me that her principal assignment was to follow me around the courthouse to hear if I would say anything off the cuff, to jot it down, and then it would appear later in their motions. But without, and I mean this sincerely, Judd, and now I don't have to, I'm not running for anything anyway, but you were it simply could not have been done.
Oh, no.
And I did, we received, after going through all of this, and a good attorney, defense attorney, their investigators or paralegals will be going through all of that. And any minor error, what appears on its face as a minor error, when the witness takes the stand, a police officer, they can be brutalized on cross-examination. They typically then get defensive, which now it's not just the errors in reporting what occurred, it's the defensive attitude that makes it look like something's being hidden.
Yeah.
You
explained the necessity for development of individual timelines of each detective, what they did and how they did it, and I had to put all that together. And at the time, again, I used the database that I was familiar with. At the time, it was, Lotus 123, and there was just Approach. There was a couple of things back then. Now everything's Microsoft and built in, but and you would find things that I had no idea were of anything of any consequence on its face. But you would be like, wait a minute, didn't somebody else? You got to find me that report, and I would dig through things, and you just had this incredible capability. And I'm not trying to blow smoke for everybody. It was nice just, as a young officer, I was blown away. I'm like, man, does this freaking guy sleep? Like, how does he? No, apparently you didn't. I don't know. Like, and I would go back. And in fairness, like you said, you're not running for re-election. No. The guys that I work with on that case have been retired now, and I can tell you, I'd come back and go, listen, I just. Don Williams once. Oh, Don Williams once. Like, that's what I know. Your name was not well like that.
I know.
It was
my name was Ben, but I was not running a popularity contest. We were doing our job.
Like, listen, I get what he wants. No, don't worry about him. This is where I'm like, he's got a point here. Like, we got to get this done.
Being a liaison to the DA's office, especially to me, is not always a popular position, but. And I'll give you one quick example, Jid, and then I do want to talk about some things other than this, but it was a hell of a lot of work, but we were ready. And that was the reason.
They would come in, and what was discovery, obviously, that
100 separate written motions.
Unbelievable.
Each motion would have a stack of paper, cases to bury us, but we got through all of it. I had help. As far as responding to the motions through the Joe Hines, who was the DA from Brooklyn, from Kings County, gave me one of his appellate lawyers and also not a trial lawyer, but somebody to assist. Monroe County gave me an appellate assistant to help. But we had to do the work, and it was our responsibility but because of that work, Jid, and I know the guys now, when I took the bench, suddenly there was an entirely different feeling by the guys. It was no longer, that damn Williams wants everything. They would come in and they'd be ready.
Oh, they had to be ready.
And they had to be ready, and they appreciated it, because then when they did their work, the best verdicts and decisions were made, and then if it were a violent, serious offense, I could send a strong, compelling message that this crap is not going to be tolerated in this county.
And again, people didn't like you. This is the way it was, right?
It was not a surprise.
But everybody that I spoke to, that I had conversation, every time your name came up, they said the same thing. Maybe worded different. Tough, but fair.
That's what I tried to do, and it's nice to hear.
That's it, absolutely.
And yes.
They may not have liked it. That's the truth, right?
It's not.
But at the end of the day, they said, he was fair.
And I fear, and I hope it's not the case, I fear that court has not turned into a popularity contest where people just want to be loved and don't have thick enough skin to be told you're not loved. I'm a human being. Later on, after retirement, after being a judge, it's great to see the officers and many defense attorneys and prosecutors come up and say, thank you, you made me a better lawyer, you made me a better police officer. But it can't be about that. You've got to be tough. You got to be fair and tough. I fear that is not happening now. And I'm thinking, and I'm not going to put you
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I
know with COVID, everything got kind of get set back, but I can speak when you were there. It was,
and one quick story, and then on this, Tom Scarry, who's a good friend now, and I know Tom was one of the ones that hated me.
I don't know if he hated you.
Well, there was
when I said your name, there was a lot.
Yeah, that guy's going to make me do what? It was Broadway East Apartments. It was a drug dealing trial that was coming to trial. Tom was the lead detective, and there was a raid by you guys on this particular apartment. Tom was assigned outside on the ground. Apartment was like second floor up, and Tom witnessed the individual come to the window and throw a bag. out of the window that fell some distance away. Tom recovered it. So we didn't get much notice for trial back then. So it's a few days before the jury selection's about to start. And Tom comes in and he tells me the story, what he saw, recovered it, was tested and everything. I said, Tom, how far were you standing from the window? He goes, it was on the second floor. I go, give me the distance. And he said, anywhere 100 feet to 100 yards. I go, Tom, I want you to go back to Broadway's departments. One officer, get in the apartment where the window is. You stand where you are, measure it. He goes, it's raining out. I go, Tom, trust me, you're going to be asked about this. So he goes, how are we going to? I said, can you get a spool of yarn, throw it out the window? He holds one end. And Tom was grumbling, and he went. We go to trial. Good defense attorney. I've forgotten who it was. Might have been Alan Zweibel. He takes the stand. And Tom's saying, it was 100 and it was, you saw it? You can identify my client's face from that distance? He goes, what was that distance? And Tom said, it was 112 feet. 112 feet? How in God's name do you know he made me go measure it yesterday. And the defense attorney shut right up. Afterwards, Tom said, whoa, that little extra work was good. So,
and that's the same thing that happened on the Raquel Knox, Lyra Whitehurst.
On a much broader scale.
Broader scale. But that was the detail that you wanted every time there was a report or audio or anything.
And it's so much work for you guys, and you guys have so much to do. I really did appreciate you have so much to do to keep people safe. Also to ensure that innocent people are not unjustly arrested. And I know you specifically, that was as significant to you as it was to me. But you have so much to do. And then to have some DA sitting in the warmth of his office, feet up on the chair, saying, go out in the rain and measure this, or the stuff I made you and others do. I didn't like it. I would like to be loved by everybody, but I knew I was respected.
And at the end, just like you said with Tom Scarry, at the end, again, I'd go, what? Like, okay, I'll do it. And then later on, you'd say, oh, remember that? You got that, right? Okay, this is why we need it. I'm like, son of a gun.
See, Jid, that's why it's important, and I didn't do enough of it because we were so small staff and we had such tough plea bargaining policies. But it's important for the assistant DAs to get out and speak to the officers. And I tried to do that as much as I can, but it's hard. The work you did, and the work we did together, but the work you did was so critical in compelling that individual that committed one of the most horrible crimes imaginable, and the hundreds of murders that I've presided over. What he did was so offensive to this 7-year-old little girl. But because of the work that was done, at the end, his team of attorneys knew he had no option. So he pled guilty to life without any chance of parole. He will never get out, cannot get out. And that saved Ricky and Margie Knox and our community, the horrible trauma. And I believe in trying cases, but there are some times to have that family, these two wonderful people. Margie Knox is one of the most wonderful women. Ricky Knox, great guy. And to have this community go through the horrible ordeal of a lengthy trial in this case that was not necessary because of the work in large part, Jid, that you did.
Listen, I was just the clerk. I did what you told me, and the officers, the detectives, everybody. We had troopers involved, sheriff's deputies. Everybody was involved in this case. It was huge. And just to be part of, and I'll admit, a small part. You know, I used to say to guys at work, right, I'm just a gear, right? We're all little gears that make this machine run. But just to be part of that, I can't tell you how much I learned. And it, 2-year degree from Ulster. I heard you talking about it before in the part of the show. Just great college. I was honored to teach there for a little while, and We have the police academy partnership with them, and just awesome, right? But until you're in it, hands-on, and then on top of that, the pressure, because believe it or not, there was one point I'm like, man, I want to go back. Like, this is a tremendous amount of work that's got to be done, and it's not glamorous, right? At the end of the day, we're not doing it for any reason except for the justice of it, right? At the end of it, when you have to tell a senior detective, hey, listen, this report, in the future, this can't happen, and you're like, they look at me like, who are you? And I'm like, listen, I can't, this is the reason, and the same reason you would give me, I'd give them, and they're like, yeah, kid, go downstairs, right? And back then,
but it got done.
It had to get done.
And again, we're all human. I had an altercation with a public defender last night, assistant public defender, that was embarrassing, quite frankly. But it can't be. We all want to be loved. But when we're in this field, we owe it to people like Ricky and Margie Knox, to this community, to Raquel's memory, and all of the victims. We owe it to have thick enough skin, and you know that. Being a police officer in today's environment, God bless you. I'm serious. God bless you. Yeah, let's defund the police and see how the crime acts of violence have gone up. And so I appreciate people understand the history. I appreciate it, especially after what happened last night. It's nice to hear good things. So thank you. And I miss being on the bench.
So just as an extension of that, not only what I learned from being with you, working for you during that short amount of time, it was intense, I was able to carry that out and push what I learned at the academy level. As one of the academy directors, so when recruits did things that I would say, whoa, no, this is the reason why, right? I had the operational understanding why this in training needed to be done. So
you could give them the example.
Absolutely.
With the result that was magnificent under the circumstances. And because you can't just have a DA or a chief or anyone go in front of police officers and say you have to do this. They look at you like you're out
anymore. There was a time you could say, get out there and direct traffic. Yeah. Now it's why do I got to do it? Why am I out there? Now again, right? I was raised in a very disciplined household. If the chief at the time, Riggins, said, "Go out there and direct traffic," you didn't care about the weather. You just put on your hat and you went out there, right? That was the way it was.
Right, chief.
If you didn't have a raincoat, that's on you.
Thank God we didn't have to turn over those recorded conversations.
Yeah.
Jim Riggins was one of the best. Jim Riggins and Mike Juby were detectives when I was wet behind the ears. They were two of my detectives I handled cases with.
Yep.
Boy, were they good detectives, but what an eye-opener.
Ooh. And I tell you, they would have had a little struggle in today's environment with the social media and the camera phones.
I think they would have bothered them, but I think that they were bright enough, and good enough administrators that they would have adapted.
He was definitely sharp.
However, I really have appreciated this. I want to talk about a couple things, if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
Because I don't know how much time. Probably only have about 5 minutes left. Bail reform.
Bail reform.
How do you feel about it? And I don't want to put you in a difficult position about anything. How do you feel about it, and how is it affecting what you do every day?
So, I personally and professionally, I'll say, I think it needed to be looked at. Without a doubt, 100%.
Absolutely.
There were times I'd sit there as a supervisor and go, well, that's ridiculous. We're holding this guy overnight for what? Like
for $100 bail and a shop.
Ridiculous, right?
$100 bail because they can't afford $100. You're going to spend on horrible.
No. But what we're finding is, on a larger scale, violence. We'll go direct to the gun violence. All across the country, especially in the state, obviously in Kingston. In the past, and listeners have been on the radio, heard me say this before, when we've had gun violence, we knew that guns, gangs, and drugs were all connected. So although we may not be able to get them with a gun in their possession, we'd be able to get the drugs, right? Drug buys, and at least get them off the street.
You may not be able to infiltrate the actual gang activity because it's so difficult to find witnesses who will testify. But everyone knows in law enforcement that gangs use drug sale profit to keep the gang going. And the gangs then proliferate with young people through the possession and use of loaded illegal weapons. So you have to have, and it may not be popular at all, especially we talked about the bail reform. It had to be changed, but they've thrown everything out. Yeah. And now you have violent individuals charged with offenses, repeat offenders. You had a person charged with murder recently released on a technicality. That was, and I don't like doing this, but I will, that was horrible. It was a technicality. It was a discretionary call. You had an attempted murder, not you were the cause, that also was released back out to the street on a technicality. These are technicalities. And I haven't heard of one gang member or one individual who has been convicted of gun possessions, gun gangs, drugs. I haven't heard of one that received any type of a stiff sentence. And we know, Jed, because your guys would come back to me, especially after I retired, and I also would hear the intercepted telephone conversations of the inmates at the jail, that they would say, this guy will give you a fair trial, but if you're convicted, brother, and that message has to be sent. The roots of the problem also have to be addressed, and you've been excellent with what you are doing with that. I know you work with the Ministers Alliance, which is, I was very upset with Mr. Carnwright. He stopped meeting with the Ministers Alliance, which was so helpful to me when I was DA. You're back doing it.
Trying.
And yeah, the roots have to be addressed, but law enforcement also must be designed at getting those individuals that violate the rights of others through gangs, guns, and drugs especially, and a message of deterrence must be sent.
Agreed. That's 100%. The deterrent component.
You know, I could probably let you two go on for about 2 more hours. You guys have so many stories to tell with all your knowledge. And one guy, 30 years being a police officer or more, and you were on the bench, or the DA and bench for what, 40 years?
You did it all.
40 years.
And Jid, how long have you been a police officer?
Almost 30.
Oh, my
Almost
God.
30.
So the 70 years of knowledge you two have, we probably should have our own show. The Don and Jid Show. Anyway, thank you guys both for coming in.
I'm sure that many people would have other monikers for it.
Well, I don't
We
know.
are, what do we have, 1 minute?
I was just texting Tony. I was like, these two can just keep going on and on. I was like, we might as well get them their own show. He's like, I agree, because we were both. I was listening to you at my desk. He was listening to you in the car. I'm like, these guys can just keep going. So, but both of you, thank you, Jid. Thanks for coming in again.
Thank you.
John, thank you for co-hosting and actually hosting all by yourself for the last hour or so. Thank you. Don always comes in, and anytime I call him up, I'm like, Don, somebody's sick. Somebody's going on vacation. I'll do it.
Yeah, it's no problem. 5 o'clock in the morning, no problem getting up to
I'll
be
get
here.
right up. Yeah. No pay.
And again, I want to thank Jid. I gave Jid very short notice, and your confidential secretary, I've forgotten her name.
Stacy. Yep.
Stacy, you are magnificent. You deserve better.
Did you never have I'm sure you had a confidential secretary in your time.
Lori Steiger was absolutely amazing as DA.
And it makes your life a whole lot easier when you got someone doing
truly does.
all your stuff.
Truly.
So
And Jid, thank you.
Everyone
Thank
have a
you,
great
guys.
weekend, and we'll be back Monday with Medical Monday.